liberal media are cowards. It's straight up. The latest thing that's come up is David Pakman. Now, obviously, Milo Yiannopoulos has also been targeted through CBS. Now, to that we can somewhat understand. He is conservative, he's foreign, he's gay. There's a lot of things that you can possibly say, okay, maybe they're just bigoted towards these types of people, towards people who are radically different to them in some way. Maybe we can understand that, as reprehensive as it may be. It's bad enough. Even if it were just his conservative, they're liberal. Maybe that was it entirely. Maybe it wasn't the fact he was foreign. Maybe it wasn't the fact he was gay. Maybe it was just that. Okay, so let's call it understandable, for want of a better word. One of your own is David Pakman. He's progressive, he's liberal, he's a reporter, or he's in your industry. So, one of your own there, what do you do with your liberals there? Well, you listen to whatever the progressives tell you, the hate mob, the social justice warriors. You see what they rally around, and if they call your man this, that, or the other, you're going to throw him under a bus. And that's what CBS is doing right now. But it's worse than that. I mean, we could just despise CBS alone and be quite okay with the liberal media, but we're not, because we know exactly where this is going to go. No voices will come out in support of David Pakman, and if by chance they did, it certainly wouldn't be a bugger off anyone who says otherwise. David Pakman, has done a fine job. It's been completely neutral. These progressive elements that are swarming him on social media and calling him out and calling him a lot of horrible things. CBS Media, who has now basically smeared him. We're calling all of you out. You all need to be put on notice that we're not putting up with this anymore. We're going to run articles against you directly, or news features against you directly if you keep this up. We're not putting up with this bullying. They could do that. They could say, we're banding against you guys, and if it's a long-running feud or whatever, it's well deserved, because you don't hang one of our brothers out to dry. They could do that. They could say, until you can come up with something he has done wrong, there's no way in hell we're going to give you air to breathe. We're going to absolutely run you out of town. He doesn't deserve this, and you don't deserve to be piling up on him. They could use their influence. They could do all of that. They could get, other liberal voices onto the fold. They won't. They won't do any of this. The reason that they won't do this is simply that they're cowards. Social justice warriors, so long as they stamp their feet hard enough, they'll get whatever they want. And God help you if you're a liberal who falls from grace in any way, shape or form. Doesn't mean that you even have to have done something wrong. It's the impression that you've done something wrong, or perhaps you've hurt someone's feelings, or perhaps you. Doesn't really matter. If that happens to you, God help you, you're thrown under a bus. And you have to make the right propitiations and to the right people in the right way, and maybe they'll back off you after getting a few more jabs in. Or maybe if you hold out long enough, they'll eventually stop kicking you and walk away and leave you prostrate. They're bullies, they're mindless jackboots. And I'm not a fan of the Conservatives, I must say. I'm not a fan of them at all. They go from embarrassing, like the Fox News, to just very out of touch and overly resilient to change. It's conservative. So what are the Liberals then? Well, the Liberals at the moment are the social justice warriors. And by comparison, who looks better? It's not the social justice warriors. And unfortunately, it's been like that, at least in the American politics, for a very long time. The social justice warriors have been elbowing their way into spaces where they have no investment and just wanting to take over, wanting to bully, bludgeon, passively, aggressively get people aggravated and then claim victim, rinse and repeat over and over again, dictating what values should be held in that space, by whom, in which way, how the space is to be enjoyed, whether it be an atheist space of video games or comics or whatever it is. And Occupy Wall Street doesn't matter. And they can't create, they can only destroy. They'll feed on each other in the end. Left nothing else to feed on. They're poisonous. And the weak-minded news media of the left will pander to them always. They ought not be your customer base. They ought not be the people that you entertain or give voice to. They're certainly not one of you. They disguise themselves as liberal, but they're not really liberal. They're very restrictive. They'll want things done their way and to their specifications. And if you can't enjoy something in their way and, with the right temerity, you're set upon. It's very, very pack-like. It's not healthy. And the bigger voices in those spaces generally aren't healthy. I don't think they're healthy people at all, not healthy-minded. The sensible, rational ones tend to be either turfed or sit quietly in the corner. They shouldn't be supported. And if the liberal media can't stand up for David Pakman, and Milo for that matter, I mean, Milo's done nothing wrong, but if they can't at least stand up for David Pakman, and when I say the liberal media, I'm talking exactly the Young Turks, Rachel Maddow, Anderson Cooper, Bill Maher, all of the liberal voices should be rallying against CBS, rallying for David Pakman, and examine as to why why he's getting such a hard time. He gave the Game Gators a far harder time than what he gave Brianna Wu and Arthur Chu. Far harder time. And the reason why I say that and say it so definitively is the fact that we were prepared to go on more and more than the other side. And so just by virtue of how many times we appeared, we got far more of the hard questions. We got far less time to look good, basically. We got a hammering. Now, was he fair? Well, yeah, he was fair. Was he correct or was he right? No, he wasn't. I was particularly put off by how he dealt with Hot Wheels there. He especially, saying, "Oh well, will you now?" Towards the end, he said, "Well, will you now join in and condemn this?" I'm thinking, well, F off. You really ought not be pressing the point here. I know you want to. he did the same thing with bloody Milo when he said, well, asked about his convictions with transsexuals, because he wanted to make some liberal point about gay men being against transsexual people. I think, it was unnecessary and was just basically trying to set him up for a fall. And Milo dodged that one pretty well. He answered it, I should say, and dodged what was trying to be an ending note to basically slight him on, I felt. But basically he was pretty fair with his questions. They weren't particularly nice, but he was putting himself out there and at least listening to us and wasn't condemning us out of hand or saying horrible things to us, which is what most of the people have done, which is what CBS is doing right now. So that's really what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that they will actually stand up for their man and stand up against CBS, and really that they're prepared to take on the social justice warriors to be able to say, we won't be kowtowing to you anymore. We won't be taking your word as being, what we have to listen to just because you guys say so and so is bad and, ought not be entertained or, should be called a sexist and should be called a misogynist and should be done this and, is unfair and is, all of these things. No, just no. Don't put up with it. Don't accept it that must be the way it is, or that because they're progressive voices that they need to be entertained. It's the same as saying if someone is, oh shit, if someone was gay, that they're necessarily a morally good person. It's not true, not true at all. And anyone, with any kind of sense of intelligence could know that a gay person could be a good person, a gay person could be a bad person. You're not obliged to like a person who's gay just because they're gay. The same stage would go the other way too. You shouldn't dislike a person because they're gay. The same would go for a black person or an Asian person or a white person or a male or a female. And that's the whole thing, is that the social justice warriors will play on that. You can't say these types of things. You can't make these honest assertions. And it's a little bit revolting. It's a little bit disgusting and dishonest. I think that they need to be brave enough to be able to stand up to the social justice warriors. And heck, if they do, kudos to them. I'll certainly be subscribing to whichever channel does, and I think many people will. You'll certainly rise in esteem because a lot of people think exactly like I do. I find the Conservatives to be, completely out of date and out of touch and, a bit backwards, to be perfectly honest. The same stage I find the Liberals to be the social justice warriors is what I consider, or pandering to them. So, a lot of people like me, think like me, and will, given the change in direction, be a lot more interested in liberal media if they start being a little bit human. It's so easy to take on Fox. You get no points for that anymore. I'm sorry. Fox is a joke. Take on CBS. Take on the social justice warriors. Take on this problem. You'll get my respect. You'll get others too, for whatever that's worth to you. But I think you should do that for your own respect and your own sense of decency as well. Okay, well, that's all I've got to say. Please respond, put comments in, good or bad, I don't really care, and give me feedback. Thanks so much. Bye.